Hello and welcome to another episode of Cards Unbarred. My name's Ryan, and in this video I'm going to teach you Stage D of Eternal Decks, designed by Hiroken. To set up for Stage D, first place the 3 stage cards in the stage card area. First you'll start with the Star Stage card, then the Gatekeeper's Hit Point card, and lastly the Gatekeeper Deck card. Next take the 4 white Star Skull cards and place them on the Star Stage card. Then prepare the 2 Gatekeeper discs. The first one will be placed on the 20 hit point space of the Gatekeeper card, and the other one will be placed in the top row of the field in the leftmost space. Next, take the 4 keys and place them on the appropriate spaces of the Gatekeeper hit point card. The order of the colors of the keys does not matter. Next, place the Mountain Field card in the top row of the field card area. And now it's time to prepare the Gatekeeper deck. The first thing you'll do is take the extra Game Over card and place it on top of the Gatekeeper deck area. Then you'll take the 8 cards of the second half of the Gatekeeper deck. These are the cards with the purple back. You will shuffle them together and place them on top of the Game Over card. Then take the first half deck, which is the cards with the white back, and shuffle those cards together, placing them on top of the second half deck. When playing a 2 and 4 player game, be sure to remove the 3 player only cards, which look like this. So in a 2 and 4 player game, there will be 6 cards in the first half deck, and in a 3 player game, there will be 8 cards. And now it is time to set up the Eternals, starting with the top row, which will be the D Eternals. First, take the included D4 and roll it. Remove the Eternal that matches the number you just rolled. In this case, we rolled a 1, so we will be removing the D1 Pegasus Eternal from the game. Set up the 3 remaining Eternals as normal. Set up the Jewels, Stars, Hearts, 4th lap bonuses, starting decks, and communication discs as normal. Be sure to place the 3-player Jewel card when playing 3 players. To finish setting up the board, you'll need to choose which mode you'll be playing. In this video, I'll be setting up for Standard mode, so I will complete setup according to Standard mode. Please refer to the rulebook for the different types of modes. To complete Stage D, you will need to defeat the Gatekeeper. To defeat the Gatekeeper, you will need to do damage to it through the use of Skull cards. Skull cards are a new card that gets introduced in Stage D, which can be found in the D Eternals as well as the Gatekeeper deck. Whenever a number card is played on top of a Skull card, it will do damage to the Gatekeeper. Players can lose the game through normal means, by not being able to take one of the 3 actions on your turn, or drawing the Game Over card from the river bonus area. However, there is a new additional way you can lose the game, and that is by drawing the Game Over card that was placed in the Gatekeeper deck area during setup. Turns in Stage D will work the same as they did in Stage A, B, and C, where you choose a start player and go in clockwise order. However, after each player has taken a turn, the Gatekeeper will get a turn. So let's just have the red player be the starting player. And they will have played a card down there. And now that every player has taken a turn, the Gatekeeper will now go. All the Gatekeeper will do on their turn is take the top card from their deck and flip it face up. Depending on what card it is, will determine what action they perform. In this case, it's an ability card, so they will resolve whatever the ability is, and then the card will get discarded from the game. The 2 generating Jewel cards will generate the associated Jewel, either the 2 of the same number or the 3 of the same number. However, when the Gatekeeper generates jewels, they still follow the normal rules for generating, so if there aren't any Eternals up here to actually give a jewel to, then the card doesn't do anything. But if you do have Eternals up there, it will always prioritize the leftmost Eternal. So if we had these 2 Eternals and they play the generate 2 of the same number, if that jewel was there, it would go on the ghost. Of course, if that jewel was already generated in a previous turn from a player, then the card would not activate as well. The other ability card the Gatekeeper has is the Shuffle card. When this is revealed, all players will take the cards that are in their hand it to the starting player. The starting player will then shuffle all cards together and deal the cards out to each player one at a time in clockwise order, starting with themselves. And the other Gatekeeper ability card only shows up in a 3-player game, and this card does nothing. The Gatekeeper is simply assessing the situation. If the top card is a Skull card, it will instead go into the field, and where it goes depends on the cards that are currently in play. So this disc that you put during setup on the leftmost space is just essentially a reminder of where the next Gatekeeper card will go. So in this case, there are these 3 cards here, so the next card would go in that space. However, when placing Skull cards, you still follow the common placement rules. So the same colors cannot be next to each other. In this case, you would look to play the card here, but because there's yellow, you can't legally play the card here. When that happens, you will then just slide the card down to the next row, going into the leftmost space, checking to see if it can be legally played there. In this case, it can, so that is where the Skull card would go, and the Gatekeeper's turn would be done. Now, in the situation where the card couldn't legally be played down here, maybe there was another yellow card there as well, it would then go to the 3rd row. And in the case where all 3 rows are filled, it instead just gets put in the discard pile. And then nothing would happen, it goes to the next player's turn. The other way Skull cards can be played to the field is through the D-Eternals. Some of the cards in the D-Eternals deck, as you can see on their cards themselves, they will each have 3 Skull cards of a matching color. So Barong has 3 blue Skull cards in their deck, and when you play these cards from your hand, you will still follow normal and common placement rules of same colors not being next to each other, but you can put it in any row. You don't have to go the leftmost upper row. So maybe they decide to put their card there. Now you can have multiple Skull cards next to each other. That is a legal placement to do. They don't have any numbers on them yet. It's only the colors that you're ever worrying about. Skull cards also cannot be played to the river, and they cannot be used to generate any jewels, even including the any 2 or any 3 cards. Now, what are Skull cards important for? Well, this is how you're going to do damage to the Gatekeeper, and you'll do that by playing number cards that match the color of that Skull card. So if it was the blue player's turn and they had this blue card in here, still following the field card and common placement rules, they'd play their card down, and whatever the value is on the card they played is how much damage they do to the Gatekeeper. So in this case, they put a 3, they do 3 points of damage to the Gatekeeper. Now, if you ever do an amount of damage to where you surpass one of the tokens, so let's say we do a 2 card here, we're doing 2 damage, we've now met that token, we take the key and place it on the key acquisition area, and then the disc for the health points goes back to 20. If you were to have done damage that exceeded past where the key was, you ignore the additional damage done, you always go back to 20. So what I mean by that is if we were at 16 and we played this 2, that would normally take it down to 14 hit points, but because by the time they hit the 15, we gained a key, as soon as you gain a key, it just resets back to 20 and you ignore any additional damage. Now, to get the next key, we have to go from 20 all the way down to 10, so doing 10 or more damage. But again, if you go beyond it, as soon as you hit there, you stop, you gain the key, and you go back to 20. You'll then need to do 15 points of damage to get it down to the 5, reset. Once you do 20 more damage, you'll have gained all 4 keys, and that is how you win Stage D. Some additional clarification as far as cards being placed in a row and Skull cards go. You cannot place a number card or rare card or any type of card that's not a Skull card beyond a Skull card already on the board. So in this case, we have a 1, a 2, we have a yellow Skull card, and blank beyond. If somebody had, let's say like a 4 or a 5, they would not be able to place that number card because you must resolve Skull cards before you move to the next number card. So a yellow card of some kind that can legally be played has to go there first before you can start playing other number cards. Again, you are allowed to have multiple Skull cards next to each other. It's just number cards that you're focusing on. And whenever you play a rare card on top of a Skull card, it does 0 points of damage. No matter where the rare card comes from, you never do damage to it, but it allows you to bypass a Skull that you might be having trouble with. Additionally, whenever players score points or stars in this stage, you gain the star bonus as usual, but in this case, there are 4 white skulls that you'll gain. There are 5 stars that are available, but in this stage, you only ever collect 4 of the stars to get 4 of the skull cards. If you were to gain the 5th star, you just simply would ignore it because you would not gain one of the bonuses. But these are white skull cards that get placed over top of any skull card on the field. This allows you to now play any color you want on top of that skull, making it a little bit easier to complete it, whereas that was green, now it's any of the colors of your choice. And just like the previous stages with the purple star cards, these go directly into your hand. So whenever you gain the star, the player who gained the star will take that card into their hand immediately. The last thing to go over for Stage D are the 4 D-Eternals. The D-Eternals do not have an ability card. However, their curses are actually positive effects that positively impact the players throughout the play. So the Pegasus works like the festival card from Stage B Ghost Town, where players can play 1 or 2 cards to any field row and or the river on their turn. You can play 1 card as normal, but it allows you to play up to 2 cards instead. The Djinn has you refill your hand up to 4 cards instead of 3 cards at the end of your turn. For Barong and Kyubi, they allow players to break the common placement rules of same colors and same numbers being next to each other. In the case of Barong, it is the same color, and Kyubi is the same number. This ability applies to all 3 rows in the field and can happen multiple times. One thing to point out, when Barong is active, their ability of same colors being next to each other can also impact the skull cards. So you are allowed to have skull cards next to each other. So if we were to reveal a green skull from the top of the deck, that would go here because 2 cards of the same color can be next to each other. If Barong's curse was ever to be covered up, then these cards would still legally be able to go there and you could play a color later. And that can happen because the Gatekeeper's ability could make it so that a jewel would end up covering their thing. So let's say we had already done the Ghost and the Witch, and Barong was the rightmost one. When that Gatekeeper card gets revealed that shows the 3 of a same number jewel, it would cover up Barong and that ability would no longer be active. However, we still have 2 of the same color out there, and to resolve those skulls, you'd still be able to play 2 cards of the same color next to each other. Of course, still making sure you follow the field card rules. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Stage D. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching.